So show your mistakes, they say. Well, here's my big mistake on the siding. It is apparently fall, which before September was when, right at the turn of September is when I did this. So I didn't know it was fall yet. Not usually fall in Oregon, but it's fall. And the fir trees decided it was fall. And unfortunately, about 5% of those needles, which may not sound like a lot, but it is, are actually in the paint. So Casey and Dad and Ben and I are removing said needles as best we can from the surface of the paint, and then I will either have to respray or touch up heavily with a brush. Some of them are probably light enough with these needles that are really bad that I can just daub. We're not going to really know until we put them on the walls and I try. Hopefully I can just daub most of it, but yeah, so there's that. So we've put on some of these boards on this side here that had the pine needles on them, fir needles. Let me show you what they're looking like and what the prognosis for my mistake is. So this board we washed and scrubbed, and the paint held up pretty well. You can see what remains of the fir needles. I keep calling them pine needles. We don't hardly have those around here. And some of what's down there, that'll come off pretty easy. Just didn't come off. We missed it. And you can also see there's a little bit of dirt needs washed off. But it's looking like touch-ups maybe really all I'll need to do. I might do another coat, but it is an expensive paint, so I would prefer not to. We're gonna go ahead and finish up this wall this morning though, all the way up to this middle band board here. And then at that point, I can work on the porch. We're gonna do the rest of this wall up higher with scaffold and ladder where I have to have a second attachment point. Just doesn't make sense for me to be working it all off of a ladder if I don't have to. And so, I can work on this porch or even potentially do some work underneath, although we have a lot of metal stored there right now that's in the way. So here's my stack of clean boards. These are what's left that are still covered in fir needles. And you can see there's a couple of things going on here. And I have a criteria normally for determining what side is going to go up and be hidden under the sheathing. And it's essentially, are there either, is there one side where I just completely missed the paint and I don't really want to have to daub that or go back and brush it, or are there spots in it like this where there's some damage? And some of them can be large enough, like this one down here, that's hard to get the paint to fill that. And so instead of trying, I'm just going to take this as the top on this top board here, and then that will be what shows below. What's that?
One piece in. One pig is already in. Yahoo! Slap him!
Here we go. We're going to catch this last pig in.
Hawk! Hawk! There she is. I caught a video.
Good job, buddy. And there we go. All three girls, including the cautious one, are now in. So they're just going to spend the night in here, and we'll take them in tomorrow. So at this point, the rest of this deck is a job for tomorrow. We're getting late enough that it feels a little bit rude for me to be out here working in the neighborhood. But I feel really good about the progress out here on the porch today. I mean, we're pretty much to a spot where it's going to be super simple for us to finish this out tomorrow. One more board down to the end. And yeah, that little bit of corner is still missing, but we just line it up to the other one and we should be fine. And then to figure out how to finish out up to here, and keeping in mind that what our plan for this area is just take, 7/16 zip, since we have extra, instead of buying more soffit, and run that out. And so that'll come down, 5/8 before we do anything for sure. And then we might do a top trim board. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be essentially dead-ended other than, around that electrical outlet on that side, and the same thing over here. So I'll have to talk to Casey and see what she thinks, but I'm thinking a trim board. And then the other question is, in addition to that trim board, like on the other porch, are we going to do some kind of other eventual finish over the top of that zip system sheathing? Some kind of wood like we would be doing on that little 10x10. So once we know that, then I'll know what I'm doing up here tomorrow to finish that out. We're probably going to put a 2.5 or 3.5 inch trim board just below where that, 1/2 inch of ceiling material is going to go for now, which we're just going to use the extra zip boards instead of buying more soffit material. They're not substantially different in price, and painted it will look just fine until we decide to do something else with it. Just one of those things where, you've got to kind of consider all of these things and plan all of these things out when you were doing, even the framing step for a lot of this stuff. So what I'm doing here with this whiteboard you see me putting on is basically just giving that upper delineation, and the board below it, the blue board, we'll simply butt against the bottom of that with a caulk line to seal it. We are under substantial overhang, and that should be more than sufficient to keep it from having any issues at all. So it'll just look nice with that caulk joint more than anything else. I could even just omit it so long as the edge is painted, but we're going to put it on. And I'm using this scrap of green zip system to give myself an appropriate offset, not snugging it super tight, in fact just kind of getting close. Board I used on this side needs painted. You can see that it's one that was the very end of the batch, and let's get this one on this side on. This side's done for now, and we're gonna go down there. So out this morning we're getting some I guess you call it mulch or manure from neighbor who has a horse arena, and we're going to be spreading it in this upper field in preparation of hopefully tilling it in this year, if not early next spring. forgot to get back here and actually open up the tailgate. That would help. There's no tie off on this side. There used to be, so I'm gonna have to watch that. We'll prop it up. This side has a little string, so we can tie it off to this thing back here, just like that. Well, that worked up to a point. All right, here we are, jerry rigged. Let's see if this will finish her off. So now I just gotta kind of bump this thing forward. Oh, it's getting it. It's gonna definitely be a long little poop worm here. Let's bring her down. I've been doing some clearing out here. Made sure I had enough space to be able to put all this pile and kind of spread a little bit. And then hopefully at some point, get the rest of that stuff over there. And then, keep working that way. So the dump trailer did indeed need charged. Got it charged and finished this off today. And we ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 loads. All the little ones are from my bucket. It's just best to try and put something in the front of the tractor I found for grip and everything. But I mean, that's just a fantastic thing for us to have. That'll spread over this whole portion, an inch thick. And there's all this stuff in here that I got to deal with before I can really do anything other than just seed this in if I choose to this year. If we don't get the excavator out, I'll probably just rough it up and seed it, and then we'll call it good enough until we can get in and get rid of that and that and that and that and that, all those little garbage pieces. And I've pretty well decided that some of what's over there has to go as well. If we're genuinely going to be able to grow anything in here, it's still a thicker canopy than it should be, and I'll have to ponder on what needs to come out. Probably the last time we will sprinkle out here in this field this season, just to give it a good shot at having a solid growth into the fall. We should be seeing rain, they think. They don't know, but they think in the next, I don't know, week and a half, 2 weeks. And if that's the case, you can see it's still green at the base. So I'll let the grass die off. It's going to die off, and growth is going to grow, and it should have its roots well situated. And then we'll get ready to move it up here if I am able to get to that. So the first reason we're using zip on this roof on the underside of the deck here is that it is slightly textured. So for the time period in which we, caulk it, not tape it, caulk it and paint it white, it's not going to be something where we're going to be displeased with it. And for longer term, the likely scenario is that we're going to put some kind of a wood finish, a stained wood on this roof here, on both this porch and the other porch. And we wanted something that we can nail up into and it's going to hold and stay. And a 3/8 by only 1/16 less of material, this is more of a structural material, and we felt better about having that up there. And the time when we bought this is so far in the past. There's no way that we could just return it. And we could get some money out of it via selling it. We could use it in another application, but this seemed like a good solution to us. Up in the corner, we just made sure we had, some boards ready to go for whenever I finish this out. And we will probably do the outside soffit in the same material versus buying more of the LP. And, it's not a huge cost, but it's enough. So 3 sheets up here and just a little bit to go on the end on the one side. And then this whole strip here all the way down. So I'm out on the other porch now, the top porch, and you can see there's some electrical in place now, and that was just because it was going to be a lot easier for me to do it without having to fish, and I'm not a fisherman. Plus then, you've got a, improper stapling. Doing it with the sheathing not on yet. Same as before, using my drywall lift, which does just fine for sheets like this. And then this has been there. I just kind of butchered that to just stick this whole sheet in. So I've got to put a little board on there to brace that little section. And then I'll either cut this back and run full. That's probably what I'll end up doing, just cutting this back and running full. But it's up now, and this one here is going to run. I just cut it to actually hit that board. I'm running them off of this wall, and then I'll run one full sheet this way, and then I don't have to do quite as many patch pieces on, you know, the one side, since that already takes care of, you know, 2 feet basically. And so I can run this way after that, a full up to the corner. You know, having the lights, I haven't cut the hole out yet, but the lights wired ready, the fan wired and ready, just means that all I got to do is cut holes, and then they're pretty much ready for inspection. One last thing to report is I never got back to this little bird's nest. So they have like a 2.5 week, I think, period of time when they're in there, and then they're hatched and they're out, and I just missed it. There was some other stuff going on, as you can imagine, and yeah, I just didn't catch it. All right, so we've marked where that track should be. Now we've got to figure out whether we marked it right. Forgot about that. Forgot how messy that was. So a 4¼ inch chuck, and it just so happens that's going to give me pretty much, I don't even know, 1/16 to 1/8 more than I need on what the round is. So, you know, 3/16 or quarter at most more than what the actual 4-inch electrical box for the fan is. So let's go take a look at this. Extra there. Now I think I have this pointing the right direction. All right, that'll hold up in there real nice for us. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.